Hi there, welcome back to Math 8, Unit 8, Section 3. And today we're going to be talking about the sum of interior angles of a triangle. Our objectives today, we want to explain that the sum of interior angles of a triangle is 180 degrees by rearranging the angles to create a straight line. Number 2, we want to use angle relationships formed from parallel lines cut by transversals to establish facts about interior angles of a triangle. We want to determine the angle measures of an interior angles of a triangle. All right, so the first thing that we have is that we have this thing that says sum of interior angles. So if you take all of the angles inside of a triangle and you add them up, you get 180 degrees. All right, so sum of interior angles. So what I want you to say is that angles of a triangle add up to 180 degrees. Always, okay? This is something that will always be true, consistently be there, and needs to be something that you need to be able to set up and do, okay? So, and you can always check any triangle that you're given, that's going to be the case. All right, so if you took angle A plus angle B plus angle C, you would get 180 degrees, okay? So if you take angle A, which is 58, plus angle B, which is 90, plus angle C, which is 32, you should get 180 degrees, all right? So 58 plus 90 is going to give us, let me get my calculator out just to verify. Always use your calculator to check, but I think it's 148. It is 148. So 148 then plus 32, does that equal 180 degrees? And if I do 140 plus 30, that's going to give me 170. 8 plus 2 is 10. 170 plus 10 is 180. Okay, so this checks out, all right, and this works. Now, one thing that teachers often do is that what you can do is you can rearrange those angles and put them along a straight line. And I know that all of these angles add up to 180 degrees. Okay, so if I take A and B and C and put them next to each other and add them up, I'm going to get 180 degrees, always, okay? Now, what we can do is we can also look at something like this, all right? We can use a parallel lines cut by a transversal to show this, all right? So let's say that you have two parallel lines, okay? And we know that, you get two parallel lines. All right, so let's look at parallel line. And then if you create points A to B and then A to C, you create a triangle here, okay? And if I know that angle B has a measure of 50 degrees and that angle C has a measure of 45 degrees, I can figure out what angle 2 is, all right? So, and let's look over here with what they wanted to know. We know that all these angles add up to 180 degrees. Angle 50 and 45, what's the measure of angle 2? So, there's a couple of different ways where we could do this, and let's look at it this way. I'm going to extend this line out real quick here and this line here. And I'm going to extend out this line and that line because that's a transversal. And then I'm going to extend out this line and this line. So the question is, if this angle here is 50 degrees, then the angle that would be its alternate interior angle would be angle 1. So these two angles, and what we learned from the last section is that those two angles are congruent. This is going to be 50 degrees, all right? So angle 1 is equal to 50 degrees. Now I can do the same thing over here and say, all right, well, this is angle 45, okay? And so if I have two parallel lines cut by a transversal, then angle 45 and angle 3 are alternate interior angles, and because these lines are parallel, those angles are congruent, okay? And so that this is 45 degrees, all right? So angle 3 is equal to 45 degrees. All right, and so that's, also established here. That was kind of given to us. All right, so now the question is, what's the measure of angle 2? All right, now we can set up an equation using the knowledge that all three of these angles add up to 180 degrees because you form a straight line, or you could use the triangle sum theorem. It doesn't matter, okay? So, knowing that angle 1 plus angle 2 plus angle 3 is 180, what's the measure of angle 2? Well, let's do this. Let's do 50 plus angle 2 plus 45 is equal to 180. Now, 50 plus 45 gives us 95, so angle 2 plus 95 is equal to 180. Subtract 95 from both sides, all right, and do some algebra, and angle 2 is going to give us 85 degrees. So angle 2 is 85 degrees, all right? Now, what you could have done this either by using the fact that you have these three angles that are going to add up to 180 degrees, or you could use the fact that these three angles inside of your triangle would do the same thing, okay? And so what is the sum of the interior angles of the triangle? 180 degrees, okay? And if you add those up, 50 plus 85 plus 45, and you can just add those up in a calculator and verify. So 50 plus 85 plus 45, boom, is 180, okay? And that's, something you can just check on your calculator. So now the question is, all right, given this scenario and given this picture, we can figure out what this angle is, because I know that all the angles in a triangle add up to 180. So find the value of x. All right, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to do x plus 87 plus 48 is equal to 180. This is something that you have to create. All right, given the picture and figuring out finding the value of x, what you have to do is you have to sit there and set up an equation and solve, okay? So let's do this. Let's combine our like terms first. Let's do 87 plus 48. All right, add those up. That's going to give us 135. So x plus 135 is equal to 180. All right, so from here, I'm going to subtract 135 from both sides. And I want to say that x is going to be 45, but let's double check. So 180 minus 135 in my calculator gives me 45, okay? So x is 45 degrees, all right? So in here, this is a 45-degree angle, all right? Now, if we check, we could just simply plug this back in and do 45 plus 87 plus 48, all right? And let's just double check, all right? So let's just add those up. 45 plus 87 plus 48, those do, in fact, add up to 180, all right? And that's all you're doing, okay? All right, now, all right, so in this picture, it says it wants us to find all angles in a picture. So when you're given a picture like this, okay, examine the diagram depicting parallel lines A and B. So knowing that these two lines are parallel, let's come in and label those. A and B as parallel. And those are cut by transversals C and D, okay? And as a result, all right, what we know is that these are transversals, okay? And that I have this, all right? Let's look at angle 1. And angle 1 is going to be congruent to this angle here, which doesn't have a name, but it's also going to be congruent to angle 6, okay? Because those are corresponding angles, okay? And then angle 2 over here, let's put that in blue, is going to be congruent to this angle here because they're alternate interior angles, but angle 2 and angle 4 are also going to be congruent because they are corresponding angles. The last pair is 3 and 5, okay? Now, I know that these are going to be congruent, and I'm going to put 3 arc marks here to show that they're congruent, all right, because those are vertical angles, okay? So once I find a couple of these, I can find all of them. So let's write each of this out. Let's write out angle 1, angle 2, angle 3, angle 4, angle 5, and angle 6, okay? So angle 1, let's just call that, I don't know, 40 degrees, okay? And let's call angle 2 20 degrees. Let's call it 30 degrees, okay? And so from there, all right, what I know is that angle 1 is congruent to angle 6. So if angle 1 is 40 degrees, then angle 6 is also 40 degrees. Okay, I know that angle 2 is congruent to angle 4, and if angle 2 is 30 degrees, then I automatically know that angle 4 is also 30 degrees. All right, now the thing I don't know is I don't know what angle 3 is, all right? But if I know that this is 40 and this is 30, I know that angles 1 plus angle 2 plus angle 3, all of those angles are going to add up to 180 degrees. I have to set this up. Angle 1 is 40. Angle 2 is 30. All right, we don't know what angle 3 is, but I know that 180 degrees is what they add up to. So let's combine like terms and solve. So 40 plus 30 is going to give me 70 degrees, plus angle 3 is equal to 180. Minus 70 on both sides, and we get that angle 3 is going to be equal to 110 degrees, okay? So from there, all right, if I know that angle 3 is 110, okay, then I automatically know that angle 3 is congruent to angle 5, and that's also going to be 110 degrees, okay? And that's all you're doing, all right? So if you know that all your angles add up to, in a triangle, add up to 180, and you know the concept of parallel lines cut by a transversal, all right, you can solve all these problems, all right? Hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks a lot. Bye.